Well guys, as you can see, I've reset up, if that's even the right word, my Marklin layout, but I've encountered a problem. Now, if we have a look at the transformer on the wall, you can all see that, if you've been paying really close attention, that it's not the same one as the old one, and if we come down to my controllers, we can see that they're not actually both working at the moment. This one here is off. Because what's actually happening is when I first set up this train set again, I ran into the unfortunate accident of somehow blowing up my old transformer. I don't even know how I managed to do it. So at the moment I've only been able to use one mobile station to control them at a time, which is making things like Marklin a lot more difficult, because I don't have dual train control, and I have to control the engines with limited features. However, that's not going to stop us. Today we're going to be looking at this item here, the Haribo Club Locomotive for 2010, which is 36603. So I'm going to have a look at a stock Marklin locomotive that's had a new twist, and see how does it really compare, and is it really worth the status of a club locomotive. And, in case you haven't noticed, I've got a new camera. But let me see what you think. Can you tell the difference? Well, let's find out on this next part of the Mega Marklin review by TrainzXtreme. Alrighty, as you can see, this train has a new style of boxes. One where we've got this grey kind of colouring, as well as the photo of the locomotive rendered in black and white. As you can see, there's the 1FC Marklin logo on the side, with a typical back. Now, what's interesting again, is that we've got this kind of foam packaging, like the modern packaging, and interestingly enough, we've got this little piece here, which is missing on the other of my new packaging type locomotives, which stops it from sort of moving around from side to side. And so if I can actually open this up, you can see that it comes with lots and lots and lots of plastic wrapping, which once again is a little bit different. So I think Marklin is actually paying more and more care to the way they're packing their locomotives, which is always good, especially when they're coming all the way to Australia. Now, a quick backstory on this locomotive, because it's a club locomotive, and as I explained to you in my review of that locomotive over there, it's very difficult to get them in Australia. So this one, I actually went to Germany and bought. And so somehow it survived the trip back. However, as I'll show you later, it didn't survive some other things. So let's have a look at the actual locomotive itself. Okay, so we can see this locomotive is one of your stock tracks kind of locomotives. I believe it's one of the BR185... Let me see if I can read it on there. Nope. 185.5 series locomotives. And so it's a very typical design from Marklin. So what we've got is this, sort of semi-curved front, lacking the other pantographs. So this is a simple system with mechanically raising pantographs, like so. They sort of bounce up. They're not electrically connected, so if you want to power them by the catenary, it's not going to be possible. But they are functional, and they do look really nice when they're up. We've got a little bit of detailing on the roof, not a lot. As you can see there's like a bit of a cable. We've got the horn detailing, we've got the windows on the front with a little bit of marking. We've got the special close couplers, but once again we've got them mounted out quite far away from the locomotive body. And then we've got headlights that change with direction of travel. Now they're meant to be warm white, but does that look like warm white to you? Not really, does it? No, they're more of a yellow, a warm yellow. As you see, if we change direction of the locomotive, there you go, and we've got them in the back end again. So what it's got is a really nice sort of colour scheme. I think the blue is really nice and really works well with the rest of the locomotive. We've got the big offset Haribo logo with the bear, and the little gummy bears all over the side of the locomotive on both sides respectively. Now this locomotive came with a big tin, which actually had some Haribo lollies in it. So I think they did a really good job of making this a really interesting club locomotive. Not only that, we've got one of the new motors, as you can listen, it's quite quiet. Very powerful with four powered axles and 2 traction tyres. In fact, if you ever actually have a look at it, I can show you something very interesting. But as you can see, it's a reasonably slow gear locomotive. As you can see, this is about half speed. So, it's got some speed, but also some power in it. I think this is the kind of motor you want most locomotives to have, because it means you can operate nicely at low speeds as well as high speeds without being really, really noisy. So overall, on first impressions, it's a really nice locomotive. So now, I'll go into some more nitty-gritty kind of stuff about this. Okay, so we've got a Club Locomotive, right? And which age group is going to be playing with a Club Locomotive? Well, with a new My World range, it could be anywhere from 3 to forever. So when you see that this has happened, as you can see there are horns broken off, and if you actually have a look at the pantographs, this one here is a little bit, may not be able to see on the camera, it's a little bit out of bent because it got knocked off the tracks and somehow became really bent and damaged. And so I think this locomotive especially has quite a few little bits like these and this bit here, these buffers that are really easy to break off. And so I think for a Club locomotive, maybe these electric locomotives are on slightly the delicate side. However, what's even more interesting is not the fact that although we've got warm yellow lights as opposed to warm white, is if we have a look at the wheel system, you can't really see it in this light. But if we open it up, we can see that it's got the same kind of body, and if we turn it upside down, we'd actually see the hole for mounting a speaker in there. And you're going, now where have I seen this before? And the thing is that you have seen it before. If we reach over and have a look at this side and undercarriage of this locomotive, it's exactly the same. Hang on, let me double check. Yep, the only difference being that this one is rendered in black, and this one's chassis is rendered in grey. So already I'm starting to see like this sort of Marklin thing where they're reusing the same chassis. Now this doesn't happen just in these two locomotives either. Many locomotives with this arrangement are given the same chassis. And one way of noticing is the wheels, although they fit here, don't quite fit in other sets. Because, here it gets even more interesting. If we come over here, very unprofessionally of course, I could have just cut here, but anyway, to my ice train, which will be the next part of this review, and have a look at this engine's chassis, it's the same too. Well, not quite the same, but it's quite similar, and we've actually got the same bogie system on this engine as on those two engines. So once again, we can see that Marklin's sort of reusing the bogie design a bit here to get a little bit more bang for their buck, which I find really interesting. So it seems even a premium quality brand such as Marklin is cutting out some of the more finer details of these beginner sets, which does make sense, but also sort of limits the originality of the collection. So there you go, after an interesting revelation there, what's my final recommendation on this set? Okay, so apart from the small fiddly bits, this is a really nice locomotive, and I think if I was going to buy an electric locomotive from the beginner range, which means it would be one of these same design locomotives anyway, because all the beginner locomotives are like this, except they're just repaints. I definitely think this is one of the better ones, because it's got a really nice, bright colour scheme, and really fits into, as you can see, the multicoloured railway that I've got. Also goes with that Haribo car over there. Anyway, I think this is a really nice coloured model, and I think for a club model, it's really good. I think just like the police locomotive, they put enough effort into it to make it special, but also not so much that the price tag means it's not relevant, or so that it seems a little bit too strange, because although it probably doesn't exist, it's very possible that a Haribo locomotive would exist, as would a police train. They're much more likely than one of the older club locomotives, which was a Superman-themed locomotive and a Lex Luthor-themed locomotive, which also happened to be a set containing this exact locomotive here, with a repaint of course, and that Alex locomotive over there, the police train, in another paint scheme of course. So we can see I'm wondering that this year, 2012, should be the year that we see another club engine. So I'm interested to see if it's going to be another one of these type of locomotives. So anyway, on that kind of interesting note, let's finish this part of the Mega Marklin review, and next time we'll be having a look at that ice locomotive over there. And then we can finally move on to some of this more interesting rolling stock. And you're probably going, rolling stock. Some very interesting things can happen with rolling stock, I assure you. So anyway, could you tell the difference that this is a new camera? Has it made any difference whatsoever? Then again, it is nighttime, I suppose. Anyway, enough of my rambling. that's all we've got time for now from TrainzXtreme.